when things get tough, my values anchor me.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Together We Are Stronger, Leadership Straight, No Chasers. And we've highlighted the aspect of creating your tribe, building your tribe. And the guiding aspect really for that alignment is the values that you have. And those really need to be your foundational piece. And that's going to help you as you go along, and then have the aspect of the guiding light, which goes with the filter system. And it's funny because you'll tell people your values, and then they look at you funny and they act like those aren't values. And I'm like, how are you going to go tell somebody what their values are, what their values should be, when it's an individual thing? And so when you think about yourself, George, when it comes to values and whatnot, have those been something that have adjusted for you? Or do you believe when you look, kind of, they are maybe set in stone for you, which to each their own? But for yourself, what is that for you?
That's a great question. When it comes to value, my number one thing is my family. Keeping my family tight, everyone working together, having fun, growing together. I have learned a long time ago that when you have values in yourself and what you can bring to the table, I never lost that. I never lost that value, right? Now, have we all made mistakes? Yes, we have. I have made mistakes. I made bad choices and everything else. But at the end of the day, my value still is the same. It's because I know what I can do and I know what I can bring to the table. And I think a lot of times people forget how important that is. It doesn't matter if you're a great salesman or you can talk to people. What do you do to bring value to help that client out? Are you truly helping someone out and really sitting down with someone and sharing that value to them? And I think it's important for people to understand that, how if you don't bring it, you get this mistrust, right? People don't trust you. If your values is not in the same as theirs, in the sense of, do they love the Lord? Yes. If they don't, understandable. Everyone has an opinion, but I carry that close to me. And I think everyone needs to do that. I mean, you have to lead your life with value. You got to, if you're talking about personally, you got to have value in yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was reviewing a little bit of the Buddha and the Badass and kind of the exercise that machine provides to extract your values. And it's a very interesting thing that a lot of times the hard stuff, the aspect of kind of that trauma that somebody may go through, what ends up resulting in kind of that guiding light of what wants to be protected. And so that's, I think a little bit of that, though, is you have to go deeper, and it goes back to going to the past and looking at the mistakes that took place, finding those lessons, those growth opportunities. But you also have where a lot of individuals aren't mature enough to be able to go back to the past and really sit down with whatever it is, because you'll get people that get triggered. And so it is a development piece for an individual to have that maturity to be able to go back and sit and extract without getting upset about whatever it is. And so for myself, I look back and I went through my divorce, and I wasn't real big on personal development. That really didn't come up until after the divorce took place. But then looking and seeing what's taking place, one of my values really for myself is being in student mode And so really when I look to connect with individuals, that's something that I look in for what somebody else loves to do. And it's not just being there as a student trying to gather as much knowledge and not taking action. It's
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, finding things that you haven't thought about or seen before, and then putting forth the action. And so, with the divorce piece and being stuck, that student mode helped open up to really get to where I'm at now. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, I'm grateful that the divorce took place, which is a very weird thing because you still have a lot of people that way, way down the line are still angry and upset about it. But when I look at that, that was one of the big values that started growing for me was being a student and always looking to be in student mode to see if there's something that I'm not seeing or maybe that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, and you have to differentiate. I mean, it's huge. You have to differentiate between your personal, your business, and and the family values, organization values. You have to differentiate. I'm saying it wrong. I know I am, and I'm like, I can't speak tonight. But you have to keep them different. Your values and your family values and business, right? You got to have some different. You have to be different about it.
Uh, for me, it's one that because you see a lot of people that are fake, it happens where they have values that are different in each realm. And so, like, when I look at values, my values are the basic foundation that spreads to everything. So like we've talked about, it's that difference of opinion, difference of how we view things, which is much needed within these type of relationships because you don't want everybody to sound the same. But when for myself, the biggest thing is my values are gonna be the foundation for everything. Being with my family, being business, being personal, everything is going to extend off of the values that I have because there's always an opportunity that they bleed and then they open up to become a better version of myself. So it's a very interesting thing because like for me, I don't think I believe if you have that differentiation that there's the potential that you don't show up as your true self just because you're now trying to guess and then puzzle piece things together. But honestly, that's just my perspective and how I kind of look at it of not trying to get things confused.
Well, after listening to you, you hit it right on the nose because as I sit back and think about when our family went through hell and losing $2 million, losing everything, we kept the value the same regardless of the situation,
Yeah.
and we stuck together, and that's what created Together We're Stronger. But one thing I do is when things get tough, my values anchor me.
Hmm.
Lord, my family, no matter what people say, right or wrong, people shouldn't be judging anyway because you can't throw bricks from a glass house because that brick comes back, takes down that house.
Hmm.
But you gotta keep your values straight. And people see that and really appreciate that because no matter what you go through life, if your values are the same and are anchored inside you, uh, people won't lose faith in you, and your family doesn't lose faith. No matter what you go through, you plow through every day. Everyone goes through something in their life, that really tugs on your heart, and you want to do this, you want to do that, whatever the situation is, but your value keeps you anchored,
Yeah.
and you can go off and go, scream out the world and talk smack and all that. But if your values are grounded, you're not going to do that. You're putting yourself out there to get um, you're really kind of devaluating yourself in a sense
Mm.
because it's not you.
Yeah.
And when I lost that money, that was a huge growth. I mean, I can't explain to everyone what's that feel like to lose that. But I'll tell you this, the value that my wife has in me and this family, that's why we call her Saint Holly,
Mm.
because her values never changed. We've been together 34 years and her values never changed. And she's one of a kind. But
Mm.
I've never been through what you've been through, a divorce. But everyone goes through something and you have to learn from it. You have to grow from it. You got to care what you do. And what's crazy is where I work, I keep my values. I don't allow anything to deter me. And it's so funny when you see people who have this entitlement something. They have no values. They work in that corporate world, and all they care about is numbers or whatever the situation is. They have no value toward people. They
Mm.
just look at you like you're a gum on the bottom of a shoe. And I know a lot of people think that these days, and that's how they feel.
Yeah. I think really it's where you're looking to put yourself is going to open up and really drive if you're going to live by values
Hmm.
or if you're going to live by external things that cause changes. Because it's a very interesting aspect when you think about self confidence versus self worth. You can have somebody that's very confident, but internally their self worth is horrible. And
Yeah.
so that self confidence is dictated by the external things that are happening. And so I believe when you look at the aspect of values, that regardless of the situation, they're there
Hmm.
as that guiding post to help you along during the good and the bad times. And so it's a very interesting thing when you start looking at it. You have clarity, you have that filter system, and then your values are there as that northern star to move you forward. So when you look at opportunities that are showing up, do they align with your values? And
Hmm.
then does it also go in there and is it going to push you forward with having the much needed clarity, which when you look in, like we highlighted, the what we're doing here is a lot deeper, and it is looking at things differently, which a lot of people don't want to do that because it starts shaking up your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then you get into the issue of, am I going to get kicked out of my tribe, whatever it is, because it goes back to if you get kicked out in caveman day, you get stepped on, you get eaten, and then you're gone. But here, where we're at, you don't have that to worry about. But it
Yep.
is the loss of the potential identity that you get from that other group. And so it's very interesting when you start looking at it and start looking at different things that align and what people truly miss
Yeah.
out on, because it is not the easiest, and sometimes it can be very scary because you're going into the unknown, and a lot of us
Hmm.
don't like that because we want to have certainty, and that's also a control factor and a control mechanism for us too. Is we don't know what's going on, so if I can control that, I feel like I'm in a better spot. But also going through the uncertainty is going to get you out of your comfort zone, which is going to promote growth and prompt growth that you need to take place for yourself.
Yeah, that's very well said, brother. I mean, seriously, the one thing that I could say that when you feel you have, let's say you lost your value, who you are. It's easy to rebuild yourself. Again, we talk about that tribe, right? We talk about how important, again, you got to remember, everyone, when we talk about this, we're pulling sections out of a 360-degree deal that has all these different categories. And on the value part, it's important to understand that just because you had a mishap or things didn't work out the way things happen, you can always rebuild your value back. You know what? And people make mistakes and they recover and they move forward. And I hats off to those folks, and hats off to the ones who create value. Remember where you work and where you spend your time with. All of us have a job, right? And you got to keep your values when you go to work. That doesn't mean you have to be a smart ass or anything else like that, but you have to keep your values in line, because that's who you are. That's what customers sees. That's what your peers see. That's what your family, your friends see, is making sure that you don't change. And it's important to keep that strong. But again, when you feel lost, you can always rebuild. It's
Yeah.
not a
Well,
it's not a lost
I,
cause.
I think it's interesting because you talked about that 360 piece, and I highlighted the aspect of us being the bike tire, being centered to everything. Because if
Yes.
you think about that, you have a lot of people that their identity is I'm a business owner. Okay. So if your centerpiece is you as a business owner and you're one of those spokes and the spoke that is you breaks, your identity is
Mm-hmm.
gone. And so this is
Yeah.
where you got to flip it where you're centered to everything and every spoke that is coming off of you is a part of who you are. So if one of those breaks, it's not going to be as devastating than if it's reversed. And the one that the spoke that you are is the one that breaks, it's going to be very hard pressed. And so I think that's also where having the values to stand upon that if that spoke breaks off, and let's
Mm-hmm.
say you decide, oh, I don't want to run a business anymore. Okay, well, that spoke's gone now. You're not a business owner. You're not a business person, but you have your values that you're standing upon to build out that next piece of whatever it is. And so it is one of those aspects that if everything else comes down around you, your values are going to be there to help you rebuild, like you talked about, and it's going to be much easier because with those values being the guidepost, it's going to allow things to show up to have that alignment and speed up the healing process and the rebuilding process than if you went about without anything to guide you. And so that's one of those things too. I don't think a lot of people really think about that. And
No.
it's also the fact that it's a safety net for you. So that way, if you do have to restart, it's not going to be as troublesome than if you were out there, nothing really to guide you, and all of a sudden your life just broke apart. It's going to be a much difficult situation to have that rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. Again, as we talk about the circle, how important, Scott, is having the tribe around you, your inner circle. How important is that when you feel like you're lost and you lost your value, you lost something inside you, and you're trying to refine it and trying to rebuild it? How important is that tribe now?
It's super important because, like I said, that level of closeness with people is
Mm-hmm.
much, much different. And you've built out and dug out a super deep relationship capital with these individuals So that space to show up and have those deeper level conversations can take place, and you're not fearful of what people are going to think, because that circle, your tribe, has been there with you building. And so having those different level of conversations that people really wish they could have, but they haven't done enough to get away from surface level, they're missing out. So this is ultimately a bounce back piece to help you out, and you don't feel like you're on your own island, because you have the individuals that you know that are going to be there with you through thick or thin. So that's another valuable aspect of having that built-in close-knit tribe, because that's going to help overcome those times that if you were doing it by yourself, you're only one person, and it's not going to be
Yes.
effective.
Yeah. And I mean, you're throwing it down, and it's having that tribe, and I'm going to talk about it. It's so important. Is when you're individual people that know you in your tribe, and you go through certain things, you never have to worry about them leaving. You never have to worry about they're going to say something behind your back. You never have to worry about any of that stuff. What they want in your tribe, as you look at your tribe, they want to see growth. They want to see you bring back value, talk about it. And as a tribe, you're there as an individual to help out your partner. No matter what they've gone through, what they're going through, and what they done or whatever, you stick to that, you stick to them, and you work through it. Because at the end of the day, you're back on track. See, a lot of times I feel, even for myself, when you feel lost, you bring no value, you look down at yourself, you feel like you're at the bottom, of a shoe, with a piece of gum on it. And that's sometimes people think that way. That's that value because no matter what you do or what you say, it really doesn't bring anything. It's not because it's you. It's the people that you hang out with. And I saw a saying today as if you're going to hang out with four dummies, you're going to be number five. You got to uplift who you are. You got to bring that value back to the person. People know what you can do. And working into a retail environment, let me tell you, I see it all the time. I see it. People have great value, great customer service. They're there to help, to do everything, and you can truly see who they are. But you have the ones who have the entitlement kick right out the door, and people lose themselves just so being broke. You're always broke, but because people they don't show. There's not enough leadership to show people that, hey, listen, you bring value to this company, the customers love you, and this is what we're going to do. There's none of that anymore. Is what have you done for me lately? And when you work in that environment and you lost your value because you're just going to your job and you feel like you're getting pounded every day, and I know it's a job, but you really got to stick to who you are, because a lot of times people lose themselves. And I know I'm kind of getting off topic in a sense, but I see it all the time. I see it when I first got there, people were excited and people were doing this. They were excited about stuff. Now when you talk to them, it's like talking to someone that has no life anymore. For whatever reason, I'm always there to talk to those peers to see what I can do to help them out. And everyone asks, why do you stick to your guns? Because I have value. I know what I can bring to the table. So I stick to it. I stand up for it.
Yeah.
I don't care if people don't like it or not.
I think when you look at that, though, when individuals start off motivated, it's a lot of external items that are that
Mm-hmm.
driving force, and so that's going to last very shortly. But when
Mm-hmm.
you have your values, what's driving you, you have that clarity. Because regardless of whatever you're doing, you need to have that clarity. So that way, when times do get sticky, you have that place that's going to allow you to keep driving forward and remind you whatever it is that you're doing. And so that's also one of those things when you're looking at individuals and they're all over the place. They don't have the clarity, they don't have the values that are guiding them, and so they end up getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of that aspect of being with awareness and being in the moment, which we've talked about, and that's tough for people for whatever reason. That it's tough to try to put fingers on whatever it is, but like we've talked about, humans are different, and so what works for one person may not work for somebody else because there's so many variables that we don't consider, and then it just puts everything out of whack because we assume that it should work this way because it worked for one person, but that doesn't mean anything because we have all these variables that we have to deal with. But those factors outside the variables, clarity and the values, are that underlying piece that's going to allow you to keep driving even during those downtimes.
I can add some to it. Some of the people who I have talked to and have seen day in and day out, they don't have the backing,
Hmm.
the people cheering them on, the people say it's okay, but you got to keep moving. And a lot of times, people don't have that. It's not the resources; they just don't have a good enough tribe to understand what it means to be around people who look up to you, look even with you. You know, when you're down, they're lifting you up. And when you're up, they're celebrating with you. And a lot of times people get lost. And that's, again, you, you get beaten out of your values at
Hmm.
times. And you, if you don't have the resources or the support that a lot of people don't have, I have it. Not just with my family, but with you and Ron and people who I know for years. But again, a lot of people don't have that, and that's I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy my job is because
Hmm.
I really get to talk to everybody and really kind of make them think outside the box, give them hope, and tell them they do have value. Tell them honestly. Don't just try to make someone happy and fake it. Be true to people because that's all they're
Yeah.
looking for. And I get it. That's so important to me is making sure the surroundings I'm in, and I know you're the same way. You want to be there and understand you can't be there for everybody, but there's the ones that pull me to the side and say, hey, how can I deal with this?
Hmm.
I feel beaten. And that's what we're here for. Again, it's not for everybody, right? But when you get pulled to the side, they see me not that I never change. I
Hmm.
stick to who I am at work. I stick what I'm doing. I don't put up with much, and I speak my mind. But I bring value to the team, and I express that. And I'm blessed with that capability because I have rhino skin because I've been through so much.
Yeah.
And again, just from experience. And having you being my friend for, I don't know, 12 years and talking with you on a daily basis, uh, we get to build this relationship knowing that I can lean on you and you can lean on me. Not everyone has that. And this is why it's so important what we started. Together we're stronger. Because it's going to help out. If we help out one person, we're successful. And to me, that's what it's all about.
So I would say, as we're ending here, if you feel you're stuck, you feel like you have nobody to lean on, part of what we're doing here is building out that tribe that you can have the resources, have the individuals that you can reach out to, because ultimately we can only do so much by ourselves, but as we talk about together, we are stronger. And so if you feel stuck and you feel lost, this tribe, this journey here is for you. But then again, if there was something that did resonate with you from the episode, and you know there's somebody else out there that could grab and gather something from this episode that they're missing, share the episode with them. And again, we only can do so much by ourselves, but the more we work together, the more impact we can create, the more effects that we can make in the lives of others. So other than that, again, thank you for coming on this journey. Thank you for joining us on some wild, crazy stuff here. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
It's going to be a journey, and we're going to have a blast. It's